So today we have a true warrior, not just by the name, but she is literally here with us. She does everything and she's a warrior in every area. National TV, she's done journalism, she's done movies, she's done it all literally from sports to news to whatever you need and has represented what is a true Latina woman in the world. So Lisa, awesome to have you here with us.
Thank you for bringing me in, Charlie. I appreciate it.
So we want to talk about what was Lisa was 8 years old thinking about? What was she dreaming about?
When I was a kid, when I was little, I wanted to be an actress. I loved being on stage. I loved writing plays. I loved dancing and choreographing. All the cousins, all the Guerrero cousins would get together in Chicago and I would teach them plays. And I knew I wanted to be a performer, but I didn't really know where that would eventually take me because, you know, as I became older, I was a sports broadcaster, an actress, a model, an NFL cheerleader, an NFL choreographer. And of course, I became a national sports reporter and investigative journalist, which is what I do now for CBS on Inside Edition. So I've had quite a crazy and extensive career. But that 8-year-old girl always knew she wanted to perform and be a storyteller.
Yeah, we know, and it's all about sharing. And something that I really liked is how you mentioned you brought your cousins, the family, in to your dream to start acting, to start doing. What was your first moment where your family to you and like you really did it? You really did it big this time.
You know, I think when I think of family, I think first about my mother, Lisa Guerrero, who was an immigrant from Chile to the United States. Her family settled in Chicago. So aunts and uncles and grandparents and cousins from Chile all went to Chicago. And eventually she married an American man, Walter Coles, and they moved to San Diego because he had a job opportunity with the Salvation Army as a social worker there. And my mother was, at a very young age, diagnosed with cancer. And at 29 years old, she told me, I was 8 years old. She was 29. She knew she was dying. And she said, Lisita, never forget that your last name is Guerrero. And Guerrero means warrior. You were born to fight. So when I think of family and I think of heritage and I think of my career, it's all wrapped up in this notion of being brave and being a warrior and being a pioneer and making my people proud of me. And by my people, I mean my family and my culture.
We love that. And something that really resonates with us, everybody here in Latin America, is that warriors do not give up. Warriors always tend to go straight forward no matter what's in front of us. Have you ever had a moment in your career? I know you had very painful moments throughout everything you've done, but is there any moment where you've been, I don't want to fight anymore. I'm done. This is not what I want to do.
Yes. And I mean, I wrote about that in my book, Warrior, My Path to Being Brave. The book is out now and it's actually being developed into a TV series. But I talk about the challenges I faced as a woman in sports, as a Latina on American television, as somebody who's always had to fight and claw and kick and scratch to get my interviews, to break the news, to confront bad guys and criminals like I do as an investigative journalist. So I've faced so many challenges that I felt like I needed to write it down. And I didn't write it down for myself. I wrote it down for the next generation of young Latina broadcasters or young female journalists or young men, women that want to get into sports or media or entertainment or acting, like all the things that I've done. I wanted to lay the groundwork of being able to look for the red flags and knowing when there's danger, when there's a warning to get out of the situation. You know, a lot of people say, don't burn a bridge, but I always say, go ahead and, you know, burn down that village, burn down that bridge, forge your own path, you know. And Latinas, we are strong people. You know, we have a heritage of being hard workers, of being dependable, of being relentless and strong and brave. And so as a Latina, I just wanted to leave behind a message of hope and of resilience.
Is definitely a word that resonates with everybody in Latin America. But you mentioned something that young Latinas aspiring or being inspired by what you do. How hard is it nowadays? Because when you started it off, it must have been really, really hard. But for women now, is it harder or is it easier to get into what you're doing and impact in the way you impact?
So that is an awesome question because it actually gets to the very heart of my story and the way that my book may be developed into a series, because a lot of the producers I've been working with have asked me, did the things that happened to you still happen to women today? And I said, yes, sadly, yes. I mean, you can look in the news and you can Google misogyny in sports, or, sports broadcasting controversies, or women in sports. And you'll see that there are so many stories, unfortunately, of women who've been marginalized or harassed or abused or passed over for work when they were qualified, when they were articulate, when they were good on camera. But for whatever reason, we were labeled as, just a woman or just a Latina. And, you look at what's happening today in sports, you see a lot more women covering sports than when I was doing sports in the 80s and 90s when I started. But I think women still face a lot of those same problems that I faced back then. And, although there are more opportunities for women, there are still the same challenges. We all face them. And I'm hoping that by being out there and honest and authentic with my journey, that I can encourage young people to know that you can succeed. You can do this. You can achieve national broadcasting status if you work hard and you realize that you have a unique voice. And always follow your voice. Don't let executives tell you how to look, how to act, how to talk, how to present yourself. Be your authentic being. The more authentic you are, the more audiences are going to love you and want to hear stories from you. And so that's what I've learned. I'm 61 years old. It took me decades to learn these lessons. I wish somebody had told me this when I was 21. But now I'm telling you, 40 years later, these are the things I've learned, and I'm still on TV and I'm still succeeding, and I'm probably more visible and more successful now than I was in my 30s and 40s because I kept going.
For a lot of us, age is just a number. Whatever we want to do, whatever we set our course towards is what we're going to do at the end of the day. But you've worn so many hats in actress, journalism, broadcast, author now that everybody needs to go read that book. I started it off right now, but I want to know, what's your next step? Are you going to become now a YouTuber, TikToker? Is there going to be a next step in social media as well?
I'm on social media. I'm on Instagram. I have a profile on TikTok, but I don't keep it up as much as I should. The reason is I've mentioned that I'm developing this show based on the book. And so I want to launch the journey of bringing the book to life. I want to make that my next storytelling assignment. So I am hopefully going to have a big announcement in the next 4 to 5 weeks about who I'm going to be producing with. And then that will launch a whole new journey for me on social media. And that combined with hopefully a streaming deal will reach a new audience, a younger audience, an audience that's more urban than the past audiences I've spoken to. So I'm really hoping to, believe it or not, at my age, I'm hoping to just create a new group of people that are following me, that want to have these discussions. And I want to hear your side too. I want to know what you're going through. I want to know what young people are dealing with when they break into the business. And I want to be able to mentor them and help them. And that's one of the reasons why I joined AVANCE. And that's one of the reasons that Gary Acosta and I had discussed, my role in this group to help really encourage young people that want to break into sports, either sports management, coaching, players, reporting. I just want to be a mentor for those that come next.
You are an example, a mentor, a story of experience and knowledge for everyone that truly wants to make it in any industry. For those women that are now getting more exposures, I want to talk especially about sports. I love the WNBA. I love everything that the WNBA is doing right now. I love what women in flag football are doing. I have a couple of friends that are going to be invited to this podcast as well. But what do you think needs to change now in the world of sports and in the world of entertainment to really have those powerful voices of Latina women and women all around the world really be heard?
It starts at the top. We need more Latinos and Latinas as television executives. We need more content creators, and we need more producers that have a Latin experience. We need to be able to say these Latino stories don't just belong on Telemundo or Univision, right? We can have Latino voices on ABC, NBC, ESPN, Fox Sports. We are everywhere. We are the fastest growing demographic in the United States. We buy more sportswear than other demographics. We're watching more sports on television than other demographics. And so women and Latinas and Latinos all need to be taken seriously. And it starts at the very top. And I'm talking CEOs, presidents, the corporate overlords of the media. They need to understand our value. And for them to understand our value, you need to understand your value. All of us need to understand how important we are and how integral we are to the sports landscape.
Amen. Amen. Literally, I feel like you're preaching right here. So imagine you are just at college and you're starting in the world of entertainment today, 2025. What would be your first step? What would you do first? What would you do differently from what you did when you started off?
I would first really focus on developing my voice and my writing skills, because ultimately messaging, storytelling, whether it's on social media, broadcast, streaming, books, screenplays, you have to have your voice. You have to understand your voice first. And what I mean by that is you need to look at your own personal experience, where you came from, what your family dynamic was, what are the things that interest you, what are the problems and issues that bother you, right? So you have to first really get a handle on who you are and what you have to say. I see a lot of people jumping on social that just want to be cute or want to be famous, or maybe they have a talent that they do, but without having a message. All of that is a waste of time and energy. I think it's really important to first find out what you are doing here. What is your purpose? A purpose-driven person is going to be more successful because they have a message. They have something to say. They have an energy behind their content that is more than just, here's how I do my makeup. You know what I'm saying? And there's nothing wrong with health and beauty and fashion and all that. That stuff is great. But if you do it in conjunction with having a message and understanding politics, understanding news, understanding culture and where we fit in the world, where you fit in the world, then you'll have a stronger voice. So don't just start creating content because it's cute or fun. Create content that ultimately leads back to what your message is. My message is about being brave, right? I found out that my last name, Guerrero, means warrior when I was 8 years old. But it took me years to find out what to do with that message my mother gave me. That was a gift she gave me. That was a burden she gave me. You're a warrior. Go out and fight the fight. Go be brave. So that's what I did. And that's what I continue to do. So I know what my message is. Now you've got to go out and find out what your message is.
We love that. That message is really powerful in a way that next generations, future women in sports and TV and journalism and in books and everything are really going to just go towards that. I want to know, I have 3 more questions. I don't know if I have enough time because I just want to go through everything. And my question would be, when we're done, when we're long gone and in heaven and enjoying just whatever's next, I want to know, how do you want people to remember you by? They'll be like, oh, Lisa Guerrero. Yeah, of course. She was
brave. She made a difference. And I think, that's ultimately it. I want to be known as having personal courage and having used that courage in service of others. That's what I want to be known for.
I love that. Love that. I want to put a really, really hard question because I want to translate it a little bit to Spanish, where I want to ask you, I know guerrero, warrior, represents everything you do, but is there another Spanish word in Spanish that defines you as what you're doing and what you've done in your career?
Okay, so I'm going to take you back to my name. Okay, so my name is Lisa Guerrero, right? But to my family, I'm called Lisita, little Lisa, Lisa, little Lisa. Lisita is a term of endearment. So I want to also approach the rest of my life and my journey and what I do with love and as a familial relationship with the people that I work with, the people that work for me, the people that I work for. I want to be known as Lisita. Guerrero is a warrior, but Lisita is a sweet term of endearment. And I think we can balance both things, right? In our culture, we do that. The Latinas in my family do that. So is there a way to balance this fierce fighter with a loving, peaceful image of femininity? And I think both can be combined together.
A lover and a fighter. That is the true description I see right here. Okay, final question. Imagine that Pequeña Lisita is standing right in front of you. She's 8 years old. She just came out of playing, acting with her cousins and enjoying life. And she sees you and she reads your book. What do you think she'd say to you? And what would you say to her?
She would say to me, did it hurt? Was it hard? If she read my book and she knows the challenges that I went through, some of them were dangerous, some of them were painful. I think she would want to know, little Lisita, pequeña Lisita, would want to know, did it hurt? And I would say to her, yes, it did hurt, but it was worth it. It's always worth it. The hard things hurt sometimes. I don't think we can protect children or young people of any age and say everything was easy. It's fine. It'll be fine. You know, the cliche, no pain, no gain, is true. Without pain, there can't be happiness and love and the happy ending. In order to appreciate your happy ending, you have to go and fight the battles. And sometimes you end up a little roughed up. You have battle scars, you're a little bloody. That's okay. But at the end, you win. You win.
That's what being a warrior is all about. That's what being a guerrero is all about. Lisa, I can't thank you enough. I think I need to have you on this podcast again in the near future, just talking about everything that you're doing and how you really inspire the next generation. I can't tell you enough how much your story really impacts every one of us, that we're trying to make it in this world, that we're trying to find our purpose, find our message, trying to be a warrior. So thank you for being here and thank you for inspiring the next generation.
Thank you so much for having me, and we'll talk again soon.